Friday, and today it's kind of a French Friday, I suppose. Not really, but I get a lot of questions about French business when I'm talking about starting a business in France, which is kind of a niche subject. I realize that maybe not everybody out there is 100% interested in it, but I thought I'd talk a little bit about what it meant, what I'm going through, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and all that jazz. And in the midst of that, I'm going to go to Pavillon de l'Arsenal, which is an architectural museum over near the Bassin de l'Arsenal, which is the basin of the Arsenal, which the Arsenal, for the history buffs among you, and given the time of year, it seems appropriate, was over by Bastille, the King's Arsenal, where they kept all the cannons, was over by the famous prison that they burned down in hopes of getting some guns, and they did get some guns to start the revolution, and that is where we get July 14th, or Bastille Day, which is about to be celebrated here in Paris, which is why there were planes flying overhead yesterday as they practiced for the military parade that I guess we're still having. And I guess we're still having fireworks as well. They're just going to keep people from crowding and sitting in the areas right around the Eiffel Tower. That's supposedly what's going on. I saw a map of it. No access. No bueno. And we're also not getting pompier balls, which makes perfect sense. I think a pompier ball would be a terrible idea. Pompier ball. Well, maybe we'll talk about all of this today as we go, but I thought I would talk at least a little bit about the French business side of things. Now I'm kind of thinking maybe I should save that for another time, but whatever. We already started. Let's go. We're talking about starting a business. I'm not talking about doing anything different than I'm doing right now. I already have a business structure. It's kind of like the French equivalent of a sole proprietorship. They don't make it easy to start your own business here. Well, to my understanding, they never really made it that easy to start your own business until they started what's called the auto entrepreneur or micro entrepreneur, which is like kind of like, a sole proprietorship or a self-employed status that's really best suited for side hustles and projects. But a lot of people use, to make their full living. It's what a lot of people do in tourism. A lot of people do in a lot of arenas where they need to be an independent contractor, essentially. So it's like a freelancer's business structure. The thing is that it doesn't allow you to deduct anything. So if you have a business like mine, where you spend a lot of money on your work, and I spend most of my money on my work, whether that's travel or equipment or sending postcards to patrons, whatever it is, printing books, wow, that was a big one. All the money that I take in, that I end up spending on, let's say, printing those books, ends up counting as income, and I get taxed on it, even though I never touch a dime of it. So, when we talk about starting a new business, we're just talking about reclassifying the business I already have into something a little bit fancier that allows me to deduct those expenses. It's really that simple. Howdy. Oh, it's a classic.
I've never seen the pink one. Is it cereal?
Yeah, you're on it.
Yeah.
You're definitely on the right path. Josh, you want to have just a slice of it?
I mean, I don't know what it is yet. So.
Just try it.
Okay.
Yeah, just try it. This is a slice of our childhood you're about to try.
Okay.
Josh has never had a Rice Krispie treat. I feel like this is an ongoing thread. Actually, this is the second or third American snack that Joshua is trying on the vlog.
You can start a little side channel. Just
Joshua tries American treats.
Snacks. Was it Cheetos or? Oh no, it was those chocolate things. Which
is it Cheetos? That would have somebody probably has done that.
David, how are you?
Some pothead somewhere.
I don't know what it smells like. What is it?
I don't know what it is. Marshmallow?
Does it taste good? You've made a lot of really good guesses so far, except for the Cheetos guess.
I mean, it's just sugar and Rice Krispies.
That's basically it, yes. Ding, 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 ding. Marshmallows and Rice Krispies. It's a Rice Krispie treat.
Okay, so tomorrow maybe.
It's just melted marshmallow. Rice Krispies.
More or less. There's some, hopefully, like some vanilla in there. Yeah, that was a experiment.
Tasty homemade lemonade.
That said, as simple as it may be, I've got to figure out my own, methods for doing everything still, including like receipts and blah, 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 all that kind of boring stuff. And today I actually opted out of, I was going to go to a museum with some friends, one that I've never been to before, because I thought that would be, fun, make a good video. But I also was really feeling the pressure of getting a lot of stuff done. Part of it's because I had to spend the whole morning uploading my book, Sea of the Unknown, which I've been doing a giveaway for, which I'll give you your trivia here today. Congratulations to all the winners so far, by the way. We haven't heard from any of the winners yet, though. So I'm wondering if the form is broken. If you were a declared winner where I actually asked you to contact us and you haven't done it yet, just make sure you do that so we can get you your book. But there's been some stressful stuff going on around the printing and distribution of the book, and some of it I just can't talk about yet. That's part of what's been going on for a while now that's been stressing me out like crazy and that I have promised to talk about as soon as I can, and I will. But I've just finished uploading the interior and cover files for the book to my old printer, who's a great printer. No real problems with them. It's just a little bit of a difference, and it's a number of differences that I was trying to upgrade this time. And well, I'll tell you all about it eventually. But what it means is that you'll be able to buy the book through Amazon hopefully within the next few days. I don't know for sure how long it's going to take for them to propagate the listing and start printing and shipping books, but if you wanted a paperback and you missed out and you can't come to Paris and get one from me directly, that might be your best route, and it's coming soon. And if you're anti-Amazon, sorry, I was hoping to avoid going the Amazon-friendly route, but they really dominate the book space, like real bad. Also, I just realized how zoomed in I was for that last little section of a mini monologue. Hope you enjoy close mustache shots. Also, speaking of the mustache, one of the other things I need to do is buy some wax, because I'm at that stage where the goal is to get everything really long so it becomes one big swoopy mustache instead of trimming this and just doing the sides. I'm getting there. It's really getting there. Anyways, before I continue and before we get to the very end where the trivia has been falling kind of by default, the trivia today is a sticker trivia. On the stickers, if you got a sticker pack or you saw the stickers while you're playing the game here in Paris, what does the Eiffel Tower say? The Eiffel Tower says something and it's stickered. What is it? Exact quotes only, please. Of course, first person to answer that correctly in the comments below who hasn't already won a copy of the book wins a copy of the book, and we'll connect you with Jody ASAP. Thanks again, Jody, for making this possible and for connecting us to a greater world through the power of free books. Isn't that nice? And today's patron producer, while we're thanking amazing people in the world, is Michael. I don't know if it's Raylard or Rayard. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. Sorry, buddy. But Michael, thank you so much for producing today's episode. I really appreciate it. And for giving me the freedom to say no to a museum for the day because I had to get a bunch of boring other work done that I actually need to go get done still. But my battery died while I was sitting in the coffee shop, and so now I've got to go home and work. It's a little bit less exciting, but you do what you can. And don't worry, for those of you that are like, oh, but I want to see a museum, I've got other museum trips planned. I've got lots of stuff planned, especially to take advantage of the fact that everything is so empty right now. I want to make sure that we take as much advantage of that as possible while the taking advantage is good. So back to the business side. One of the things, let me tell you what Christian told me. Christian and Paul have reminded me of this regularly, but their piece of advice is always to remember that you're always going to have to pay a lot of taxes in France. Like, it's just part of it. You might try to find ways to pay less, and there are creative ways to get closer, but you never quite make it, no matter what, which is fair enough. And a good reminder too, we talk about this a lot around the Peloton, like we are so lucky at the same time, because taxes come up. Obviously with business life here, France famously has some higher taxes, but it pays off. Like the lifestyle that we get to lead, the social safety nets, the healthcare, all of it. It works out to be kind of even if not cheaper in some ways. So we have a lot to be grateful for. And since I'm aiming to try and get my dual citizenship, I'm very happy to pay my taxes and kind of just want to I'm not really worried about saving money on taxes for the next few years because I see it as an investment in my application to stay long term. So go ahead and tax me. But it's one of those reminders that you kind of have to submit to the system, which is the case in immigration and everything else. In France, the bureaucracy does definitely dominate so many elements of our lives here, but it's okay. It's worth it in the end. At least that's what we tell ourselves. This is what I keep telling myself. And well, one of the nice things about being an auto entrepreneur was that I could basically do everything myself. Figuring out what you had to pay was really simple because it was just a percentage of your overall revenue. It is nice to know that I've got somebody watching out for me, because if you want to upgrade, if you want to do any official business structure in France, you're legally obligated to have a French accountant, a comptable. It's like the French version of a CPA. And at first that seems really intimidating, and it is, and it's kind of expensive. And honestly, finding a good CPA or finding a good accountant is next to impossible, just because everything's done by recommendation around here. And I did a bunch of research. I sat down with a whole bunch of different people, both lawyers and tax accountants or whatever. I had all the kinds of meetings, and I had to hunt them down. Like, they wouldn't come to me, they wouldn't work to try and get my business. Like, I had to hound them just to try and become a client of theirs. And that's just one of the unfortunate parts of living here. And maybe that's the same in other parts of Europe and the world at large, but like, whew, man, that lack of customer service when you're in the midst of something stressful, like trying to figure out, you know, how you're going to pay your taxes in a new country, not great. So thankfully I finally found a good one through Richard, Sabine, who you know her name now, but I'm really, really happy with them. And yeah, it's an added expense, but now I can also deduct my expenses. So yeah, hopefully it all kind of evens out and it's worth it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to change what I do here as far as vlogging and writing, you know, dancing occasionally, whatever it is to keep you smiling. It's my goal. And as things change, which they are, the landscape changes and tourism's not even really a thing. Don't know how much I can recommend the things I used to recommend or how many of them are going to stay in business, like restaurants and so forth. I kind of see the one element of my business changing, quote unquote, is putting an emphasis a little bit more on just, you know, being here for you every day to give you something to look forward to, something to enjoy, a little bit of Paris in the background, a little bit of me in the foreground, and sometimes swapping it. And yeah, it's an honor to be able to make these videos and to entertain and inform and hopefully bring just a little bit of sunshine to you from Paris in the midst of some pretty cloudy seasons. And that's basically it. One point that I forgot to follow up on, though, that I think might be interesting, the Bal de Pompier. I've talked about it before. I think I made videos about it before. It's basically the firehouses, not all of them, but a number of the fire stations where the firemen live turn into nightclubs for 2 nights of the year, right before Bastille Day. It's fantastic. It would be a COVID spreading nightmare, so they're not allowing us to do it this year, which is totally fine. But usually one of the best nights of the year. Super cool. They're different depending on which neighborhood you end up in, but like, I mean, getting served beer by firefighters and dancing in their courtyard until like 2 a.m. It's pretty freaking amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely love it. Anyways, I hope that we can get back to that in a year or two, but I guess we'll find out as we go. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever it is you are. Stay safe. Don't go to any firefighter nightclubs just for a little while longer, and hopefully we'll get through this together. And I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning for another one of these days and a bike ride out to Parc de Sceaux. And a little bit of a photo shoot too, where I'll be the model this time. See you tomorrow.